Food is fuel for your body, your mind, and definitely your sport. But let's face it, nutrition is confusing, and the expectations on girls and women to be thin and have a six-pack are exhausting. If you've ever been frustrated with your body, confused about nutrition, obsessed with eating healthy, or guilty when you don't, underate, overate, or overtrained, and overwhelmed with all the pressure, then this podcast is for you. Nutrition can be easy, you can take control of it, but it might start with letting go of control by asking for help and making a change. I'm Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, sports dietitian and owner of Rise Up Nutrition, where I empower female athletes to overcome nutrition concerns and perform at their highest level, to stop being confused by all the mixed or harmful messages, and finally have confidence in your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. Hey fans, Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, sports dietitian and your host of the podcast. Before we jump into today's episode with our guest and Olympian Kim Conley, I want to let you know about some really exciting news, which is that I've got a new website launching soon. Just kind of getting the message out there now to get you all excited. It's not launched yet, but very, very, very soon. And I will let you know when it is. I want this website to be all about the podcast, resources, help you search for episodes, help you support the podcast. If you need help, we've over the years talked to so many people in the space of coaching, nutrition, recovery, physical therapy, mental coaching. And I just thought that this would be a great place to get all things needed, not just for nutrition, but just female athletes. We've talked to so many guests, and just having resources lined out or just the episode to listen to would just be so wonderful. So if you've been catching up with my personal story at all throughout the past year, business personally is morphing a little bit. I am doing a lot less one-on-one work with clients, but helping female athletes is still a very strong mission of mine, of course, through my personal expertise of sports nutrition. And by hosting this podcast, we're giving free content to people on how to improve your nutrition, but I still believe in the power of getting more direct help. So if that is through some online courses and content that I will be providing through the new website, or through connecting with other people that we've had as guests on the podcast throughout the years, that's what I want this website to be a reflection of, almost like your one-stop shop for all things female athlete nutrition, and then expanding upon that, the mindset coaching, the athletic coaching, the strength and conditioning, whatever it might be. So this is just a little teaser to get you excited. It's coming very, very soon. I want to hit publish today, but I've got a few other kinks I need to work out. So please stay tuned. I will also include in the show notes, there is a link where you can sign up for my email list, which is currently my old email list, but that way there I'm going to notify all those people when the new website is launched and when we launch the new email list as well. So that would be a good way to stay up to date. Just enter in your email so you know, and keep listening to the podcast. With that being said, we are also looking and asking for financial supporters of the podcast, whether it be $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. This is a listener-supported podcast. Any financial contribution helps keep this podcast going. You can head to patreon.com/female athlete nutrition, or once again, click the link in the show notes to consider a financial donation to keep this otherwise free podcast going, not just for yourself, but all the other female athletes globally. I'm so amazed that this podcast reaches people globally, thousands of people, and it's been so awesome to see that. So that's your teaser, new website coming, just like big plans for the whole concept of female athlete nutrition podcast. Consider financial contribution if this is something that you value and are in alignment with our mission of helping more female athletes. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Patreon.com/female athlete nutrition. Now, as we get into today's episode with our two-time Olympian and professional runner, Kim Conley, we mention as we're talking her work with some past experts in the field of nutrition who were also past guests on this podcast. So I just wanted to highlight, we mention the work of Dr. Keith Barr. He's actually in episode 100, if you want to go back and listen to episode 100. And then Also, current work with sports dietitian Megan Featherston, who we just recently interviewed. She was in episode number 176. And so you can head back to listen to both of those and therefore understand Kim's journey with nutrition even deeper, not only as she explains it, but then by listening to the other episodes of these experts that she has worked with in her journey as well. I hope you enjoy listening to a professional athlete be honest and vulnerable in the fact that she's had to make some adjustments and go back to basics when it comes to her nutrition. But at the end of the day, paying attention to her nutrition has helped her performance drastically. It is an important thing in her life. And it's something that, we're always learning and growing. Even if you think you've got it down, like a new challenge or just a different phase in life. Oh, I need a little help in this department once again. And Kim is a great role model for making that realization and doing it. And of course, she's a great role model and just inspirational as a runner as well. So without further ado, here is her bio, and then we'll get to talking with Kim. Hey, fans and listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. I'm here with Kim Conley, a two-time Olympian at the 5,000 meter distance in track and field, who currently trains for the marathon distance. Kim owns a coaching company with her husband, Next Best Run, and together they work with runners of all ages and abilities. She went to the University of California, where she received a degree in exercise biology, and she ran there as well. And post-collegiately, she established her professional running career in Sacramento, California. She qualified for the 2012 Olympics with a photo finish in the trials with a 0.04 second difference, after which her career really took off from there. Kim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I love just really the story of how your professional running career took off with that photo finish. And I love that you've got the video on your website. I watched it last night, and every time I watch track and field races, that fire inside me lights up. It's just do you still watch it? Do you watch it sometimes when you can't sleep at night? Just replay that video.
I rarely watch it now. I used to have to watch it as part of intros. Yeah. And every time it makes me kind of nervous because I'm not even in the frame. I'm how does this even happen?
Yes. It is really that was really in the final 100 meters. You made up so much distance.
Yeah.
That was crazy. It really was.
Yeah, it was amazing. The crowd, I knew that I was doing it because of the way the crowd was reacting in the moment. I was just and I could kind of tell the perspective that I was really gaining, but it was the hearing the outside noise that made me feel like something is happening here, and I just have to carry this as hard as I possibly can.
And it's something too, like you said, watching it on TV or on the video is different than watching it live, because the video is focusing on, the person in first and second, and then what's happening, just a couple yards away, that the people live watching it are like, oh my God. And then when you finish, the whole crowd did this gasp.
I know. And, I had so many friends and family there, from throughout my career, junior high coaches, high school coaches, so many people had come just because Northern California is close enough to road trip up there.
Yeah.
So it's, and they still love to relive it. I went home for my birthday this year and I had my high school coaches come over, and they still want to talk about what it was like for them in that moment up in the stands.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's so cool about moments like that. It's you've had PRs and amazing races, but there's something that brings the spirit of sport and competition out in a finish like that, of how close something can be. And it's really exciting and memorable. And, Kim, as your story goes, and you even quote it on your website that nobody expected you to make an Olympic team. But I'm just kind of curious to get in your head at that time. Were you in your mindset hey, let's just keep running professionally, see how far this gets me? Or was that your ambition and intention?
Basically, when I graduated 3 years earlier, I just knew that I had unfinished business, that I wasn't done, that I wanted to keep running. And the environment I grew up in was around a lot of adult recreational runners. And so, I always assumed running would be a part of my life, for the long haul, because that was the role models I had around me. So continuing to run after college, was never a question.
Yeah.
But deciding to see how fast I could become, that was something I had to decide, especially in that 6-month window leading up to the Olympic trials. I stepped back from working. I wanted to even though I wasn't sponsored or anything, I wanted to treat myself like I was a professional runner and just give myself that shot. And so I kind of made 2012 like a pivotal moment of like, I'm going to give myself a chance to do it like the pros do it and see what I can get out of myself. And then if I can't get sponsored after that, if nothing happens, then I have to move on. And I knew I was going to go into coaching then, but I just, leading up into that time, I kind of felt like I couldn't be 100% of the athlete I wanted to be and 100% of the coach I wanted to be. I felt a little torn. So I kind of saw like, I'm going to give myself this shot. And then if I make it, I get to do this. And if I don't, then I'm going to move on. So I knew I was like a complete dark horse, but I also knew, like, because of the progress I'd been making, where I just was like PRing by these little chunks pretty much every race. And so there'd never been a huge breakthrough that anyone would look at me and be like, whoa, she's going to be good. But like, I'd kind of like crept up on the Olympic standard so that by the time I got there, it was only going to be another 5-second PR. And I was like, 5-second PR is something I do every race.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So for me, it just felt like, just do what you always do.
Yeah.
And be competitive at the end. And, you might surprise yourself. You might surprise other people. So it was nice though, because there was no pressure or expectation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, sometimes that is nice too. It's just, you continuing to see, let me give it my best shot. And turns out that it's not only your best shot, but, it's the best of the best, really.
Yeah.
I really like too that mindset of treating yourself, as the professional athlete at a high level, even if you weren't necessarily there yet, but starting to treat yourself that way in your training or how you took care of your body, your daily schedule is what helped you actually get there. And I actually did have a session with a client last night specifically about her nutrition, where she's taking she's kind of stepping away from sport or not doing as much. She's reduced her training right now to help heal some stuff going on. And, one of her kind of mental battles is like, how do I fuel like an athlete when I'm not training like one? And, what we talked about is you have to fuel like an athlete if you want to train like that in the future. You have to act now how you want to become, essentially. Really treating yourself how you want to be, not necessarily what's going on right now, but whatever your goals are. So that really resonates with me as far as that session I had with a client regarding her nutrition. And, I've picked up on different articles and stories and videos of you just throughout the years that nutrition has been important to you in your running journey as well. At what point in time in your life did you kind of just like become aware of nutrition's importance as an athlete?
Yeah, I mean, high school, I came from, I'm so lucky when I look back. Like, I came from such a positive environment for kind of nurturing lifelong healthy mindset towards running.
Good.
But so I was very aware of other runners that had eating disorders. And I was like very much guided into like, that's, like that is not a path to performance. And so which was hard because like I was like bigger for a runner. And so it kind of like, you have kind of like that body image, like this is what a fast runner looks like, but then also being coached, like that's not a path that you need to take to get faster also. So I think I became aware of that at like age 15.
Yeah.
But I also like, I love to eat. So that wasn't like a huge battle for me. But then in college, when I got to a point where I was like, well, like, I really do think I would be faster if I lost some weight. Then I went to the athletic department nutritionist to say like, this is something that has like been on my mind for a long time, but I want like, if I'm going to do it, I don't want to do it alone. I want it to be guided. I want it to be healthy.
Yeah.
I don't want to get injured. I don't want to get sick. I want to be a lifelong runner.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I was probably like 19 or 20 when I went to her, and that was the first time I worked with someone on nutrition.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking if in working with her, was any weight loss achieved, or what did it become a non-factor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I was probably 130 pounds back then and got down to like 120 by the end of college. And, slowly over time, and especially just like with increased mileage over the years, it's like, less, I weigh less than that now, but yeah, she really helped me make like a positive difference that, still kept me really healthy.
Yeah. I think there's two really important things about that. Is first is you asked for help from a professional and did it in a really guided way, a structured way with and specifically a dietitian's help. So, because a lot of people will think they're getting help from a coach or a family friend or something like that, and it still might not be the best help. So I love that you had nutrition support in your athletic department. It was specific for the athletes too. That's huge. And the next thing I want to point out is the age. I think it's really important that as teenagers or children, we don't get into manipulating our diet too much or putting expectations on our body to change. Like, if when you were becoming aware of nutrition or weight and performance at age 15, like maybe you weren't fully developed yet. And so trying to manipulate that at age 15, I'm seeing this is a lot more harmful at a younger age versus even in college, you're, hormonally more like a woman, even if we're not mentally yet, but like hormonally, body, like development wise, and where your body can truly handle making some adjustments and changes, because maybe we're out of that phase of growth and development and now we're trying to normalize or find an efficient way for metabolism to work. And I think that's really important for people to know. There is a difference between nutrition for kids and nutrition for adults. And there's a weird, gray line. When is it when you turn 18 or is it when you hit puberty? Obviously, it's different for everybody. But I think like you being a college athlete, that was such a better time for you to pursue that than when you were 15.
Yeah. And I mean, I was getting my degree in exercise biology, so I was learning a lot too that helped me develop that mindset. Like I remember in one of my like human development classes learning about like when you're developing adipose tissue and how you develop the cells at a certain phase of life. And that's kind of like the number that you're stuck with for life.
Yeah.
And then they fill or decrease after that. And so like all that, I was kind of learning all this stuff that was kind of forming like how I thought about it and how I wanted to approach it.
Yeah, that's great. And then, so that was your focus in college, was kind of fueling your body to sustain collegiate performance, also trying to kind of dial in that body composition in a more beneficial way. I don't know. Do you remember at the time? Because this is, I think, something that so many people struggle with is, well, how do I stay adequately fueled for sport while also maybe making changes with body composition? Do you remember at that time any things that you did that you felt were impactful to you in that journey?
Yeah. I remember she had me eating way more often than I had been. And I mean, how like college is a crazy time of life and you're kind of bound to like dining common schedules and then what's available.
Yeah.
So she gave me a lot of tools for like figuring out how to eat more often, how to time it around training more appropriately, and how to have like stuff like in my dorm room, for example, that I could be eating that, so that I wasn't tied to the dining common.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just love it.
I remember a lot of cottage cheese.
Yeah. Easy to keep in your little mini fridge or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're either a cottage cheese lover or a hater. I'm a lover, so I'm with you on that. But and that's another, it's so great. I love when people who, you are clearly successful in your performance career here. And I don't know your relationship with food, but I just love that I can ask you this question. It's like, yeah, I did change my body composition by eating more often.
Yeah.
And,
exactly.
I just think for all those people who are so stressed about weight or body composition, like, and their mind just goes to, I need to eat less or less calories or skip a snack. That's actually not the best way, especially for athletes. So eat more often and timing around your training. So really supporting, fueling your training before, after, maybe during, if necessary. Huge. I mean, and it's like, that's sports nutrition 101. You need to support your body, not deprive it.
Yep, exactly.
I love that. Yay. I love that's your answer, because I didn't know that would be your answer. So cool. So what about just kind of like, so in college and then of course, post-college as well, you were many years post-college, obviously engaging in track and field and like the 5K distance. And I guess post-college too, you started doing more like road races with a few varying distances. But I'd love to hear just kind of, so post-college, what were some of your maybe nutrition, like other things in your nutrition journey that you picked up post-college that were important in your fueling, even as that shifted to now running at a higher level or engaging in some road running too?
Yeah. I mean, I guess in a similar way to just like my approach to running, like it all became more refined in those years. So, my training was getting really dialed in, and it was like the focus of every day. And so after I didn't have access to like the athletic department nutritionist, I started consulting with a professor who was more like a muscle scientist, but like he was just very up on all the research.
Dr. Keith Barr, right?
Yes.
I actually did. Yeah. I know him, and he's been on the podcast, and we read it somewhere that you consulted with him. I was like, well, that's great because I highly respect him and his work. So yeah.
Yes. So he had me, before you could buy all the collagen products, I was whipping up all this gelatin, like super concentrated gelatin.
Yeah, collagen jello.
Like timing that around rehab exercises. I had a juicer and was juicing my own beet juice.
Wow.
I'm trying to think what else. There was a lot. He got me taking beta alanine. Like there was just like a lot of things we were doing to, just kind of like, it was more like kind of high performance stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't think beet juice made a difference at all for me. And there has been research later that's come out that said the more highly trained you are, then the less of an effect it's going to have. So I think that probably makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't miss at all like going into drug testing with red pea. So,
right. So like people were flagging you from the start. Like this seems sketchy already. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so I would say like in that phase, I would almost say like I lost sight a little bit of some of the basics in that phase because I became so focused on like, what can I do for the 1% gain?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, thinking about this progression, it makes sense. Okay, high school, we're just focusing on, I like food, don't go down the path of disordered eating. College, we're like, all right, let me dial in basic sports nutrition and optimize body composition and do this the right way. And then, okay, now let me dial things in even more for that 1%. And that progression makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I think with all these supplements and stuff, to say that it could make the 1% difference. I mean, a little extra sleep could make the 1% difference. The wind blowing differently can make the 1% difference. So
definitely.
So there's a lot of factors there. And if overstressing or like, eating food that you don't like or taking a supplement that's like, super expensive, these things could create more of an issue in other ways as well. And so it's like if you loved beets, then do it. But if you don't, then maybe not. Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, like, so I've been working with a sports dietitian now for the last several months. And that's kind of why I say like, wow, I lost sight of some of the basics along the way because like I'd stopped eating like immediately post training, for example, and just kind of like waiting until lunch. And so when she like, called that out on day one, it was like, oh yeah, like I do know this. I just stopped doing it.
Just stopped. Yeah. All right. I'm so sound. Well, I mean, I was going to interview you. So of course I was doing my research. So I know you're working with Megan Featherston, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. So we had her on the podcast recently too, because she's a great sports dietitian. And by the way, I'm so sorry. If you want me to remove that, if you don't want that, no.
No.
Okay.
Totally fine.
Sorry, I didn't. But she's a wonderful sports dietitian, especially, a runner at your level. And yeah, it makes total sense. I think I do the same thing when I'm working with my clients is like, it's cool and fun to talk about the supplements and like, I don't know, these little details, but 99% of your fueling success is coming from the foundational. Are we getting enough carbs? Do we have the nutrient timing down? Mm-hmm. Are we recovering properly? Are we hitting our protein goal? And I just in my experience too, 99% of the time, if somebody's struggling with their nutrition, it's one of those reasons that we've lost sight of the big picture. Or maybe we know it in our brain, but like the practical application of it has become challenging for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is really like the happiest I've ever felt with the way I'm handling nutrition and the way she's coaching me through it. It's just very easy. It's like, these are your protein targets and they never change. And then these are your carb targets that scale with your mileage. And I just find it so easy to manage that. And I think it's helping my weight stay really sustained and I feel great. And yeah, I mean, I'll joke with my husband sometimes when he's like, what do you want for dinner? And I'm like, 20 to 30 grams of protein and 60 to 70 grams of carbs. You figure it out from there.
And does he? Can he figure it out for you?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Well, and nutrition should be easy. That's actually in my intro to this podcast. I'm like, nutrition should be easy. I think we've gotten, just as a society, we've way overcomplicated things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think especially as an athlete, like we can talk about the power of, antioxidants and like anti-inflammatory ingredients, and those things are important. But I think, again, getting to that foundation of like, are we getting enough carbs and protein, and is our nutrient timing down?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's huge. And then from there, we can look at like, okay, well, we can be hitting our carbs and protein with a McDonald's meal, but honestly, you're probably not, because it's probably really lower protein and higher fat. So you're probably not, right? And then what I was going to get at is like, it's okay to have McDonald's every once in a while, but if you're doing that every day, okay, now we're not getting those anti-inflammatories, antioxidants in. But most people aren't doing that, especially athletes. You have the freedom and flexibility to get a fast food meal if you need to, because fueling is better than not fueling. But like, you're going to want that variety, and you're going to get a variety of ingredients in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like you said, what am I in the mood for? I don't know. If it hits my carb and protein goals, then it can be fish, it can be beef, it can be chicken, it can be tofu, it can be brown rice, it can be white rice, and kind of mixing it up all the time, you're automatically going to get those variety of those little nutrients that you need.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I had someone running a marathon this weekend, and when I checked in with her last week over her carb load, and she told me what she was doing, and I was like, oh no, this is not going to be enough. So I was like, do you have any Easter candy lying around the house? And she's like, really? Yes. And I'm like, do it. I'm like, you just like those carbs, like just get them in you.
Just get them in. Right. And it's like at that point,
but like people don't believe it because it's labeled bad in their mind.
I know. But at that point, it's like, no, you already ate your berries, you got your antioxidants, and now we just need carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have the Easter candy, have the Skittles, have the cookies or whatever.
Yeah.
Especially, like you said, you're coaching someone at the marathon distance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the higher up in the sport of track and field and running, the higher up in distance, just the more carbohydrates are going to be needed. We got to get them from somewhere. And yeah.
She PR'd by 9 minutes. So the candy worked.
Easter candy for the PR. There's so many, like, around Halloween time, I always see on social media sports dietitians being like, leftover candy, like, have it pre-run. And you just wouldn't believe all the hate that, these posts get in the comments of, like, that's terrible, like, you're doing yourself a disservice. And it's like, this is a registered sports dietitian telling you this. Why are you trying to, it's so frustrating in my career field how people just want to fight you on, like, I've got an advanced degree and 10 years of experience in this, and you're still going to fight me on it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so as you have shifted, like you said, to training now for a marathon distance, which is, when did you start doing that? Just a couple of years ago, like 2-3 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, I actually made my marathon debut in 2016, and it was horrible. And so it's like, I didn't try give it another stab.
I was going to say, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you stuck to the shorter races a little bit longer after that. And then 2022, you tried again.
Yeah. I bunked so hard in 2016. It was definitely a fueling related issue.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So had you been training like for more?
Oh, yeah.
You had been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had. I don't know why I didn't consult with anyone on how to handle the fueling for that first one or the second one. That's why I'm working with Megan now, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first one, I just was like winging it. I just kind of like would hear what other pro runners were doing. Like, oh, you're going to take a gel at 10K. Okay, I'll take a gel at 10K. Mm-hmm. And so then the second one, do you know who, I think it's Oscar Jukentroop is?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So I had like scoured, all of his Instagram.
He's got cool infographics.
So then for the second one, I know he does. They're so fun. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do 120 grams of carbs per hour for the second one. So I did that and I still did not nail the end. And so that's when I first talked to Megan, she was like, I think this may be a salt issue then. And so then I got my salt tested. So now when I finally get to the third one, hopefully we'll have everything dialed in.
Have everything dialed in a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. And yeah, going back to foundational things too. Yeah, I think as an athlete, looking at your electrolyte intake is another big foundational thing, right? Total calories, total carbs and protein, total like electrolytes with how much you're sweating and things like that. So yeah, that's another big foundational thing to look at. Yeah, but even that, it's progression, right? Like you mentioned your first one, okay, I'm just going to do what other people are doing. Oh crap, that didn't work for me. And, this is so common. There's so much nutrition information out there. You're an athlete. You've got a degree in not nutrition, but just like the human body and how it works. Like you're knowledgeable about this stuff. So it's so easy for us to think we can do it. We can handle, we were talking about this off air before. We can handle it on our own. We already know, what's needed and we have the intelligence, but actually applying that correctly or all the things, like there's just so much in our own lives that you've got so much to do. You can't look at all those little details. And, I think it's awesome that, more recently as you're like, hey, I really want to, marathon, I want to do this distance right, that you're getting that extra professional help to look at it. But yeah, and I think too, I talked about this with Megan on her episode. So if anybody hasn't listened to that yet, we'll include in the show notes what episode number it was. I'm already forgetting, but we talked specifically about fueling for the marathon and carb loading. And just that amount of carbohydrate, the 120 grams per hour, I think that so many people are still kind of like, whoa, that seems like a lot. But it's really, because we have so many sports nutrition products that are like 20 grams and might say like, oh, have this every 45 to 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And so to think like I need 100 more grams than that, everybody's got individual differences, different like performance goals and all of that, but really pushing that boundary as to how much is needed. If you're struggling with performance, I think theme here that we're talking about, number one, seek out a professional, and number two, really challenge that you might need more. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
So another thing you mentioned recently is your like post-workout and recovery, and you just kind of got out of the habit of doing that. Another comment I want to make here is that I've seen this happen before too, and I've done it before in my own life. Like these things, we just like slip away from it for whatever reason. And then we think we're okay without it. Since you added post-workout recovery back in, what like are some changes that you've noticed, or do you feel a difference?
Oh man. My husband told my mom when we were visiting my mom that he thinks Megan is saving our marriage. because I would just let myself get like crash. Yeah. Because I would just like I would wait too long to eat. I would have worked hard, wait too long to eat, and I would like be getting very grumpy and then like not be able to make a decision. So it'd be like, well, what do you want to eat? And I'd be like, I don't know what I want to eat. I just need to put something in my body right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like getting that in right away, like that never happens anymore. And I'm just like, I'm very consistently fueled throughout the day. So I just never get to that place anymore where I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah. Oh, it feels so good, doesn't it?
It feels so good.
It does. And it's funny that we let ourselves do that then. But then you probably, when you're in it, you just think, I would just work so hard in my workout, and this is, you get caught up in that.
It got normal.
You normalize it.
It sounds so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, normalizes it. Man, sorry. This is just reminiscent of another client session I had recently too, where she is struggling with her nutrition right now, and it is causing problems in their marriage. Because it's affecting your mood, your temper, your patience. And then maybe even affecting you physically. Like, oh, you put all that effort into your run, but like you're not willing to like, hang out with me for the afternoon or go for a family walk or whatever it might be or you do, and then you're complaining the whole time. Like that's not fun for anybody. And so that's another important thing about fueling is remembering, hey, we're fueling for performance, but we're also fueling like for life activities, for our social, for our relationships. Like it goes so much further. And, I just got to thank Snickers for putting out those hangry commercials. Like that's what it is, right? Like when we're underfueled, we're hangry.
Feed the brain a little.
Yes. Yep. Grab a Snickers, AKA fuel. Like get food in your body. You're undernourished. And that's why we're acting this way.
So the funny thing is like always, I would be the one to lose it way before Drew. Like it always just seemed like he could go longer without eating something.
Yeah.
And now he's the one that'll like start to lose it. And I'm like, I act like it's just so obvious, like such an easy problem to fix. I'm like, just eat something, just have a snack.
I actually do say this to my husband all the time. And it always happens. It's very inconvenient. He always does this to me like when we're traveling or something. Like on a travel day, like I'm going to like make sure I eat breakfast or like pack a ton of snacks. And then like next thing you know, it's like 2 p.m. and he's like losing it in traffic or like, you know, whatever. And he's like, I haven't eaten. And I'm like, what?
Just eat.
Just eat then. I don't know. Okay. Well, men, husbands, that's another story. That's for another podcast that we can keep going on that topic. But one other thing I do want to point out, though, just about maybe the difference between men and women. Sometimes men really can go a little bit longer without food. And I'm not saying that they should necessarily. I'm not saying they should. But they can seem to go a bit longer, like they can skip a snack or a meal or just go a bit longer, and it doesn't seem to affect them as negatively. When we dive into the research of like REDS, for example, or like hormone perturbations with low energy availability, it does affect women in a shorter time span. Like within day energy deficiency does affect women more severely than men. I'm not saying it doesn't affect men. It does, just not as like severely, or it takes longer. And same thing with long-term low energy availability. I mean, women might start feeling effects within like 2 weeks, and men, it might take more like 4 to 6 months. These are roundabout numbers, just FYI. But it's like, you know, so there are things like that in a day-to-day basis. Like it might be a little bit more important for you to be like really, really on it with your recovery. And maybe your husband can be a little more relaxed. But at the end of the day, he should still eat. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, okay. And now another huge thing that you and your husband, speaking of him, do together is, of course, you're coaching athletes together with your business, Next Best Run. And so going back to kind of just your journey, did you start Next Best Run as a coach as you were like back in like 2012, like in the thick of your like Olympic time, or is that more of a recent thing? Because your husband's been a coach all along.
Yeah, way more recent.
Okay.
So we were coaching together at UC Davis after I graduated.
Okay.
And then we like right when my career had like really taken off, we both left and started a professional group in the Sacramento area. And so that was our focus for a number of years. And then, so it wasn't until 2021 that we both started coaching like adult recreational runners online through different coaching services.
Yeah.
And then just last year, so our business is just 1 year old.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And so we left the coaching services we were working with to start our own.
Yeah, there's some, and you don't need to name anything if you don't wish to, but there's some coaching services that it's a company that has like 100 coaches that you can like choose from and things like that. But yeah, it's so nice to do your own thing. I mean, the two of you are so experienced and so knowledgeable. It's like I'm sure you have your own method and way of doing things.
We're exactly. We learned a lot from both of our experiences, and I was actually very happy with the situation I was in. So I would say like our model is very similar to that one, but it's nice to like combine forces and share it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And what type of, I guess, distances? Is it all distances, like all types of runners, or are there some things that you focus on?
I would say it is primarily marathoners, but I mean, I'm working with an 8th grader that, she's going to run the 400 next weekend.
Fun.
So it really does like kind of span things. I have a couple people that will do ultras, but they're kind of more stepping up to that distance off of marathon training. Like I definitely don't consider myself like an ultra coach. Yeah. It's just something we make work when they want to. Yeah. But so I guess I've, coached everything from, like youth track to like 50K, 50 miles. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's great because you have such that range yourself, as well. So, and that's fun to get back to like, the 400. I don't know, just that like that track and field. Once you enter the world of like marathoning, it's fun to like go back to that traditional like shorter race and stuff. It's fun sometimes. This might be a weird question. but I'm going to ask it. Like,
now I'm excited.
It just like, I don't know. I don't know if it's even a question, just like a topic. It just seems like such a, like, it's very common for our track and field athletes, more so, of course, in the distance, 800 and up, to like eventually just kind of like graduate almost to the marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like, I don't know, can you just share maybe your own perspective as to like why that happens, or maybe why it did for you? Is it just this progression of like where training takes you, what your body's able to handle, or just like the next challenge? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's definitely an element is the challenge of it. It's out there. It sounds hard, but all these people are doing it. So it's like, okay,
can
I want to do it.
Yeah.
And then like for me, there's definitely, like the 5,000 was my primary event, but my PR is from 2019, and it just felt like by 2021, I was suddenly like, I'm not getting any faster here.
Yeah.
It was just like, I really noticed a shift then. Like, and I'm 38 now. So, I mean, it also kind of makes sense that, at a certain point, the shorter distances, like you do start to lose some speed, whereas your endurance will last a lot longer. So
yeah,
there's definitely a physical element there, but then there's the mental element of like, I know I have more in me in the marathon than what I've been able to show so far. So it's just kind of like, it feels more exciting to me because, I still think there's a PR in there for me. Whereas, in the 5K, I just kind of know there isn't anymore, and that's fine.
Right.
I competed on the track starting in 1998, and I left in 2021. So that was a long time, and I'm good with it. I'm good with moving on.
And frankly, to your PR in 2019, you said.
Mm-hmm.
So do you mind me doing the math here? How old were you then? 33?
33. Yeah, 33.
Which is really quite amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
To hit your PR at that distance and speed at 33 years old, because I might not say this correctly because I'm a dietitian. I'm not the kinesiology specialist here. But yeah, our speed, our fast twitch muscles are more high performing in our youth versus the way that your body can adapt, the mitochondria can adapt to endurance training can definitely, as we age, actually get better.
Mm-hmm.
So as you mentioned, like, okay, you're 38 now, like, but my body can still adapt and get faster at the longer distances.
Mm-hmm.
But we're kind of plateauing in our speed. But again, it's like, that's really cool that you PR'd at 33 years old. Like, it wasn't just, it's not just a game for the people in their 20s.
No, I mean, I do feel like I was probably at my peak at 28, and 2019 was still it was pre all the footwear technology. But there's like, if I'm being really honest with myself, when I think about my training in that window compared to my training in like 2014, like I don't feel like I was as fit in 2019 as in 2014. I think tracks have gotten faster, and people don't talk about the technology that's going into track surfaces very much. But I've always felt like I went all the way to the Netherlands to run this beautiful new surface stadium, and I'm pretty sure that PR had mostly to do with the surface I was running on. But I took it.
No, oh yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it because you know what? Every other competitor in that race with you, had that same advantage and.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's, the shoe technology, the turf or track technology, gosh, even what we wear technology, Yeah. So that's interesting. That's something to think about, but we're definitely still going to give you all the credit for getting that PR in 2019.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's that. Yeah. I think it's exciting as somebody who has a love for the sport of running, that between road races and marathons and trail running, like no matter what level you're at, it's something that you can kind of continue to do throughout life. And I love that you're like, okay, I'm still wanting to train at the super high level. So let's just go further and see where that takes you. I love that. Very cool. Do you have any other kind of topics that you thought would be good to share?
Oh, I feel like we have covered a great range of things.
We absolutely have. And we can wrap it up then with my final fun questions, if you're down for those. Okay.
Yeah, final fun questions.
If there was one food you could eat every single day for the rest of your life and never get sick of it, what would it be?
Easy. Spaghetti bolognese my favorite meal in the world. I could have it every night, but I limit myself for Drew's sake to the night before long runs. So I get it once a week.
That's amazing. Do you like home make it or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually elk or bison is our go-to meat for it.
Oh, I'll have to try that. So
it's good.
We're bringing up the husbands a lot in this episode, but I know. My sister lived in New York City for a long time, and the first time I brought him to visit New York City, he went to an authentic Italian restaurant, got spaghetti bolognese, loved it, really never had it before, and then came home and wanted to try and make it himself. So that's his special meal now. Like if we have like special people coming over, he's like, I'm gonna make bolognese.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I love it too. It really is. There's something that it's different than just spaghetti, right? Like it's hearty and it just, yeah. So I'll have to try it with the elk or what did you say? Bison? Did you say bison? Elk bison. Or bison. Awesome. Before a long run, carb loading as we're talking about, just that really filling meal once a week. Love it. Next fun question sounds very obvious, but you never know. What is your favorite sport to participate in?
Running.
Okay, how about as a spectator? Do you have a favorite sport to watch and cheer on?
Oh, basketball.
Yeah.
I love basketball. Yeah.
Like NBA, WNBA.
Yeah. NBA and college basketball.
College.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite team?
Warriors.
Yep, makes sense. From California.
Yes.
Okay, and final question, being that this is the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast, do you want to give a shout out to another female athlete in there, well-known or just in your personal life, for just being an inspiration or role model for any reason?
Oh, yeah, that's fun. I think I will give my shout out to Des Linden.
Yeah.
We came out of college with the exact same 5,000 meter PR. She was a couple years older than me, really? 16, 17, which, is just not someone you see as becoming a professional runner. So I always looked up to her as, someone that just kind of like ground her, just kind of like would grind it out and emerged in the sport. So I looked up to her a lot as I was kind of trying to carve my own path.
That's amazing. And I actually did not know that about her collegiate career. So yeah, you two kind of really parallel there. And now you're running marathon distance, as she's obviously incredibly well known for and a big inspiration. She just finished Boston Marathon yesterday. So shout out to Des Linden. And thank you, Kim, for, I think, being a role model in fueling your body throughout the years, kind of adjusting, learning as you go, being a role model and seeking help, and being an inspiration as somebody who just, obviously you had talent, but you worked really hard and, saw how far this could get you and, made a career and a life out of it. And it's just so awesome. It's an inspiration to watch you run and to see you kind of taking on the marathon distance now as your running career morphs.
Thank you.
Yeah. So awesome to chat with you. Thank you for this episode.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thanks for listening. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you did, if you are a true fan of female athlete nutrition, then I would love if you could support our podcast by spreading the word. Share a review on your listening channel, give us 5 stars. It really helps get the word out and get the show more views to positively impact others. Also, you can support the podcast by joining our Patreon. Head to patreon.com/femaleathletenutrition to consider a donation, or even better, join our membership where you get extra monthly content and perks. We don't want you to simply listen alone. We want you to be a part of a community and a movement of fierce, fit, and fueled female athletes. So patreon.com/femaleathletenutrition is where you can do exactly that, learn more, and join. A huge thanks to our affiliates and partners as well. Once again, Prevenix, Inside Tracker, Orgain, Practice Better, Jen and Carrie. Please go check them out, and their links in the show notes where you can get deals and discounts. Last, be sure that you do more than just listen. If you need help with fueling, it's time to take action. Head to my website to learn more. You can either book a free call with me to learn more about our coaching programs and how we can work directly with you, whether it's the fast track or otherwise. Or you can take our online self-study course, Female Athlete Nutrition. You can literally sign up and gain access right now. You can explore our downloadable products, including the Red S Recovery Guide, High Iron Fueling Guide, Or if you are a coach of a team, check out our brand new coaches toolkit for teams. You can also just learn more. We have a blog, a Red S quiz to see if Red S is affecting you. If you need help, I want you to get help fast. Too many girls and athletes struggle with nutrition, but you don't have to any longer. You can rise up with the power of nutrition, take action today in any of these avenues, and become fierce, fit, and fueled. Links in the show notes, and we'll see you next time.